Welcome to another episode of the Steal a Moment podcast with me, Michael LeBois. The very special 30th episode features Thea Tochihara of Thea The Band, a lifelong friend of mine. We've known each other since we were very, very little, grade school friends, classmate of my brother Nick, and just a wonderful family, wonderful woman who I've grown to know and gotten very close to over the last couple of years, as our love for music has grown around different styles, but definitely the love is still there. Thea and I discuss the different directions she's going with this new sound with Thea the Band, as we discuss the time back when we actually first realized that she had a love for music, which was a decade ago, which is amazing to think, as she got her first guitar she found from her sister after moving to California from Colorado. She also discusses how she's sort of adjusting to a new lifestyle away from the city and how to really adapt to that life, as well as being able to create and develop new music. Speaking of new music, as of today, you can pick up The Worm, which is Thea's new single. It's available everywhere. You can, if you had it pre-saved, thank you very much for doing that for her as well. Check out the video on YouTube. It will be available today at 8 p.m., as well as making sure you guys pick up that track on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to music. Pick it up, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, let Thea know. She would love to hear it. Also dropping today is the new Gunpowder Empire track, Evil Within. A fantastic song. Sean, Alex, and I worked really hard on this with Taylor Hahn and Ted Jensen of Sterling Media and Taylor Hahn of Hahn Audio, of course. Excited to get back in the studio with him here in the next few months. Also excited to get in the studio with Van Hoven. We're going to work on some stuff with him over at B Normus Studios. Thanks to Davey Bartlett, previous guest, for hooking us up with that. And Van, we're so excited to work with you, man. We're going to do some work on a nice special track with him. And then we'll be back in with Taylor later this year, get some new singles out for you guys, as Gunpowder Empire is really trudging through 2021 to do our best to really put some material out there. If you guys have a chance, go ahead and head over also to Pause the Chick's channel. We have the Forest playthrough, hoping to record some new episodes of that in the coming weeks. She's really excited. The channel keeps growing slowly but surely. And speaking of growing channels, help this channel grow a little bit more. We did a 2-episode release this week. If you guys haven't had a chance, go back and check out the Glass Tides episode from Wednesday, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. For this episode, I want you guys to comment steampunk because of the tree. Steampunk at this point in the episode. Also, like the episode, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Those will let you know when new episodes will premiere, as we are considering a Wednesday change and making that the release date for new episodes. Got some new guests coming up here in the next few weeks, but potentially going to be doing some solo, more personal podcasts in the next couple of weeks, maybe discussing some topics. Let me know what you guys want to hear about. If you guys want to hear me talk for 30 minutes about something, or give me suggestions of other guests to interview, that would be wonderful. And with that being said, Thea and I would like to steal a moment.
How have you been, man?
Good. I've been trying to stay busy through all of this craziness and keeping up with music, and this and work has been an adventure in its own right, but it's been fun. It's been nice. Denver's starting to actually feel like winter right now, so it's starting to turn around.
Yeah, I saw some snow or something there. Is that what happened?
Yeah, we got another random snowstorm. We've had 3 now that have kind of not been on the radar. They just show up and then we get 6 inches of snow and then it's gone.
I know how Denver goes. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. How's the California living going for you?
It's good. I love it. We moved a little bit outside of like the city, so we're kind of in more of a rural country-ish area now, which I love. So there's wineries and horses around and all my favorite things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to wait until we actually got into this to talk about the video you sent me today for the worm.
Yeah.
That's the coolest David thing I've ever seen.
What? Get out.
No, it's really cool. I like the concept of it. I love the build of it. The chorus shots are probably my favorite because It's like you guys are just having a blast. Where did you guys shoot that?
So the chorus scenes were at our old house in San Diego, basically right as we were moving. So a lot of it was just emptied out. We took advantage of that. And the tub scenes and stuff, there's like a big 80s style, like this house that we used to live in, I think they definitely used to have like drug parties there. I think like sparkly popcorn ceilings, giant, like all, what's the, like porcelain or something, like the whole floor in the bathroom is slippery, giant tub. It was crazy. So yeah, there, and then there's an orchard near us where we live now, in Julian. It's a cidery, so that's where we got to do a bunch of the, running through the orchard scenes and stuff.
That was really cool. I liked the, what did you guys use for the worms? What were those?
Just like rubber film set worms or something. Okay. Bought a bunch of bags of those, and then I don't know if we even ended up having to put them in like glycerin because they floated in the water, which is good. So
yeah, I did show it to my girlfriend, and she was like, "Ew." I was like, "I don't think they're real."
I'm gonna tell people they are. Like, yeah, it's I sacrifice for my art. So
yeah, you have to. So for those of you who don't know, this is Thea of Thea the Band, and we go back literally 3 decades at least. Yeah. We all went to grade school together. You were in my brother's class. Ironically enough, he's with me in every episode. He's in this little picture right here. Yeah. I think he's maybe 8 and I'm probably 3 in that picture. It's maybe even younger than that, but I'm not sure.
Wait, can you put it closer? I want to see it.
Yeah. Got it. So sorry for the glare, but there you go.
Oh, wow. You guys look so different.
Yeah, it's weird. I had Tosh, like almost strawberry blonde hair back then.
Yeah, I remember that you had lighter hair.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah, we looked very different as children, but he grew into his beauty, and I had to create mine with beards and haircuts.
You guys are both strapping, good-looking gentlemen.
That is very, very true. But we reunited probably, like, how long ago was Ramo?
Geez, that show that you came to, you mean?
Yeah.
That had to have been like 10 years ago.
Holy
at
crap.
Least. Probably, yeah. Probably like at least 10. We'll just call it 10.
We'll call it a safe decade. There we go.
Safe decade.
But so we reunited through that, and you came to Denver to play some shows, and I didn't even realize that you had musical talent. Like, I didn't know that about us, something we share in common.
That was basically right around when I discovered it myself.
So what kind of led to making this the job option or the career choice you wanted to go down? What has given you that drive since then? Dude,
everything else before that was like a plan and trying to stick to a plan and come up with a good secure life that you could be happy with. So I was into psychology and stuff like that, but I never really felt super passionate about anything that I was like doing. It was more like, pick something that you think you won't like hate doing every day, and then you get older and you realize like, where did that rule come from? What? And like yeah, if I don't feel like I am loving and passionate about what I'm doing, then maybe I just haven't found the right thing yet. But I wasn't even thinking that much into it. It was more like, I went to a live concert, and I hadn't seen live music for a long time because it just wasn't as much of an interest. And it was like, whoa, this is it was like folk music. It was Amos Lee. So it's, very easy to connect one-on-one, really approachable music, but had like great soul. And it was just like, I didn't realize there were people out there that do this. And then, when something lights a fire in you, and then you just can't think about anything else. And it's like, wow, yeah, and then I'd be sitting in class, because I was trying to go to school to get like a PhD at that point, and I would just be thinking about song lyrics and writing all the time, and so then, yeah, figured I'd give it a year and learn how to play guitar and let myself write as many songs as I wanted. And then the year turned into now, I don't know, 12 years.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it happens. Ironically enough, like my mom, my mom, she's a vocalist. She's a powerful singer, always has been. And yeah, I don't
know if I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like a cantor and a choir, like one of the choir heads at St. James, where we went to grade school.
Gotcha.
And so that's how I got into singing. Was I enjoyed that, and I was like, I think I can do this. And for a period there, I was pretty sure I was tone deaf, but it turns out I was wrong.
I'm just coming out of that shell, breaking free of the tone deaf state.
Pitch modulation is the greatest invention of all time. Then Nick actually got a guitar. I think when he turned like 17, he got a guitar for Christmas or his birthday. And I was like, I want a bass. We're going to be Van Halen. It's going to be awesome. And Nick quit playing guitar like 6 months after he started, but I stuck with it, and I ended up really enjoying it. And then around 17, 18, I started my first 2 bands as a bassist and a frontman, which I found out was way harder than I thought it was going to be. And from there, I've been in and out of like 17 projects since I was 18. So yeah.
What's been your favorite?
Honestly, it's a tie. So my favorite band that I got to do a lot with was Red Tide Rising. I got to tour with them. I got to go all over the country, and I got to go all over. I got to go to Canada with them as well, which was really cool. Nice. But the current project I'm in now, called Gunpowder Empire, is arguably the best music that I've written, because a lot of the stuff that we wrote with Red Tide wasn't mine initially. We wrote, I ended up writing the EP we released when I was with them, but I didn't have as much say in like lyrical content or some of the other structure pieces. Whereas with Gunpowder Empire, I work very closely with my drummer and my guitar player, who are also St. James graduates or St. James people as well.
Wow.
So I've known them a long time as well. We like have a really good rapport with each other. And the song we just released a video for, called Through Bloodshot Eyes, is arguably my favorite song that's on the heavier side. And then we have an acoustic record that we wrote last year that has 2 of my favorite songs that I've ever written vocally on them, called Silence, and then Least Resistance, which is actually about Nick. So, but it's interesting because they're 2 very different styles. Like the acoustic record is more soulful and direct, and the electric stuff is a lot more aggressive, but I feel like a little more passionate. And I think it's just based on how you feel when you're playing the music. Like, I love the way that your music just kind of rolls through my soul. Like, it kind of just pulls at different areas than what I write, which is something I kind of look for when I'm into something different. And yeah, it's
awesome.
Just one of those feelings.
I'll take that. I'll take soul pulling and rolling. Sounds great.
So what is the direction you're looking for now? It seems like it's kind of shifted a little bit. Your sound has shifted a little bit with the last song I just heard today, and it sounds like where you're going towards in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, Thea the Band is kind of a figurative thing because sometimes it really is just me. But like a lot of the production on that song, I'll write the song, the chords and the lyrics and stuff and have, a mood or an energy that I want. And I love doing harmonies and stuff like that. But I can't drum and I don't play bass. I don't do any of that stuff. So the husband, he's a drummer and producer and records and all of that stuff. So it's really cool to get to tell him like, hey, put stuff on this and just see what he comes up with. And when it ends up being like more than I could have hoped for, then it's cool to have that vibe there and more of the big band feel. And then it'd be so fun to have like go rock it out with the big band. Of course, when I'm just playing things alone, they tend more towards like a folky blues / almost country style, I guess, which is probably a big core of my what I love anyway. But I got an electric guitar not too long ago too. So like I have dreams of rocking out. I'm not there quite yet to do it on my own. So yeah, when I get to have other people involved in Thea the Band, then that's great. But I also it'll keep going even if it's just me, so.
Definitely. And it helps to have that other support in the house. As you mentioned, your husband is a helpful drummer and producer. Is he all healed up? I remember what broke his wrist a couple months back?
Oh, yeah. He's broken a couple other things since then again. But, yeah. So at a certain point, whatever, I guess he's going to do what he's going to do. So
got to wrap him in
dirt
bubble
bikes
wrap.
are very dangerous, but then he's been teaching me how to ride too, which has been really fun. So
there you go.
I get it,
Yeah.
But I haven't fallen yet, so.
Knock on wood.
I know. Like I'm told that it's going to happen, but.
Yes, it happens to everybody because you start to push your limits a little bit, and you get to that point. I can tell you that I still don't know how to ride a bike, so. That's not something I'm worried about right now. I don't have to worry about falling off of one.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, I chose to ride skateboards down the hill of 12th and Oneida instead, down towards Montclair Park and
yeah,
crash. Yeah, crash a couple times. Not smart.
Oh, daredevils.
Oh man. Yeah. The decisions I made as a child, I'm glad that social media didn't exist then, because it probably would be on some compilation track somewhere and I'd be famous for eating dirt or something. I don't know. How has the transition you haven't been in Colorado for quite a while, right? How did that kind of aid in the creation process for you?
Moving to California or?
Yeah. Moving to California.
Well, yeah, honestly, I kind of moving to San Diego is what I found a guitar here that my dad had given my sister. I was staying with them for a little while after a breakup. I'd had a wedding that got called off. And so obviously, the heart was looking for something, I think, to communicate with, and found this gorgeous guitar. And I never knew my dad even played guitar. I didn't know my sister who had it had any interest in music, So I just found this guitar, completely fell head over heels for it, told her I was stealing it from her, and then started to learn how to write songs. So Colorado, no music writing. There was, I went to Denver School of the Arts for classical piano because I knew I loved music, but I had to beg to get lessons for that, and it was kind of a short-lived thing. And then when it starts to get hard, it was like, well, I love music, but also just playing classical isn't really what I think I had in mind as my musical dream. Hubby just got home. So yeah, San Diego was all inspiration, and it made the whole dream kind of come alive, I guess, or start turning it into a reality,
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of those things too, that we as creative types sometimes need that little push. This podcast is 4.5 years in the making. Like I literally wanted to do it when I left the Colorado Media School. I, didn't even think about making it a visual medium until COVID happened. And now I am currently recording my 25th episode right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Way to go, man.
And yeah, and it's crazy because like I didn't even think that this was a possibility for me. I love to talk. I talk too much. It got me in trouble in school all the time. But it was one of those things where like it's a medium where I can talk to people I genuinely like and I want to learn more about and learn about what's, you know, what is keeping them passionate right now and what's keeping them driven and you know, how we are, you know, creative types are handling this whole situation, as well as just meeting some really interesting people. I've had the luxury of meeting professional athletes and comedians and voice actors, other musicians that I had developed relationships with over social media, just taking risks and trying different things. And in all honesty, if I didn't have my musical background, I probably would have never done this because I didn't feel confident until I was like, you know what? It's just like playing a show. You are presenting yourself to an audience. The difference is the audience doesn't see you directly, so you have to kind of wait for a response. But at the end of the day, it's the same idea. You're creating something that's specifically for me, and I'm presenting it to the world in how I want to. And if they don't like it, great. There are people who might or who do. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity, and it gives me a chance to reconnect with people like you who I haven't seen in 10 years. And, you know, I was thinking about it of like a list of people I wanted on this. I was like, I have to get Thea on here. It totally makes sense. It just is how it works out.
Which I'm so happy about. So cool.
You guys have a studio on the property, or is there a studio you guys run somewhere now?
We had a studio when we were living down in the city there, and kind of right before all the COVID stuff started too. That was kind of just, it was, you know, we had to make some choices, and yeah, so we let go of that, and kind of good timing that we did, because I think it would have been even harder to make everything else keep going with what was coming. So yeah, we had this space for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. It originally had kind of been like a band space when we were full band with somewhere, and then we had an opportunity to kind of expand in there. And yeah, Jeff is really good he built everything himself. So when you have the capabilities to do it, it's kind of hard not to give it a try, you know? But yeah, everything also takes 3 times as long and costs 3 times as much as you think it's going to. And you're like, oh, now we've got it built the way that we want, and no money. So, you know, and we were kind of abusing it as just sort of like, it would be like, should we work on trying to like market ourselves, or should we write a song and record it? You know, and it'd be like, let's write a song and record it instead. So not the best business plan. It was fun.
Yeah, that's one of those things I'm always afraid of if I ever build a home studio, so if I'm ever going to do anything with it. But I have dreams and aspirations. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Denver, so that's not really an option right now. One's a guest room, one's our bedroom, so it's not like I can build one in this nice, awesome living space without potentially feeling the ire of something. I'm kidding, by the way. She's just over there working, and I'm sure I'm gonna get grief for it later.
You don't think she'd appreciate one of those rooms being turned into a music studio?
Not with all the acoustic padding everywhere. It would just be I mean, it's a bedroom, so people need to sleep there too.
Speaking of, we've got Jeff in the background there. You want to wave, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't see him waving, but he's waving.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff. So where do you guys mostly record, and what is the plan for the end of 2020 into 2021?
Where we record now, I don't, you know, that's to be figured out. Right now, like outside in the mountain area, when it's quiet, it sounds better than anything I've ever heard before, ever. But I don't know if we'll get to do that for real. So since we've moved, everything's kind of, we're starting from scratch as far as that goes. But there's songs that were recorded at the studio that need to be released. So that's kind of the goal. There's at least 2 that are really solid singles that I feel really great about and I'm really excited to share. And I don't want too much more time to go before they actually get out there, you know, but they're really close. Well, obviously The Worm, that's one that's basically ready to be put out there, just getting everything, all of our ducks in a row to get it released properly. But then another single that can be following that very closely, and then a few other tunes, kind of doing more of an acoustic-y kind of folky song for some of those solo singer-songwriter type ones that I just haven't recorded and put out. I kind of want to put together a sort of a acoustic folk album, I think, and just get them out into the world. And then, yeah, be figuring out where the next spot to record is and what the next batch of songs will be. And yeah.
Perfect. That's one of those things that's really difficult right now, is figuring out like best patterns for release and what we're doing. We have a song that's in mastering right now that we hope will be ready to go by the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
Everything kind of got delayed with COVID. We had some internal battles as well that kind of delayed the release of a couple songs. And so it kind of pushed our timeline back about 5 months. But
yeah, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. But how have you been staying motivated through this time right now? Because we can't really play shows. I know the restrictions in California are even more stringent than most places in the States right now. How are you guys managing, and what is the idea of hopefully getting back to playing shows again?
You know, I think this all kind of helped me discover that I'm more of an introvert than I think I thought that I was. Because, I mean, aside from all of the, you know, heartbreaking, awful, sad things that are coming from this, for me, just personally, if there wasn't, you know, the negative stuff surrounding it, just for me as a person, like I've enjoyed it. I like getting to work remotely and not have to drive and see more things out in nature, and to really have no other option but to like stay home and work on improving my voice, or getting to write songs, or to work on getting better at guitar. I think it's kind of helped me fine tune some of my crafts and focus on those things, and kind of see it as an opportunity to sort of catch up on some of the things that when you're doing all of the daily stuff that you just think you don't have time for, you know, and kind of like, yeah, learning more about marketing and the things that the business side of music and branding too, that is not as fun, but it's like, well, I guess this is the ideal time to be learning that and working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something I think we've all done as creative types, is really sort of pushed the, how do I market myself better to grow my band and grow my brand? And what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? We run into the issue of, you know, since we can't be in the same place right now due to restrictions and things like that, just, and also protections, for our families and the people around us. And we just want to be smart and safe. It's been interesting how technology has really helped. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a day job still, and I have, you know, money to upgrade what little studio space I have here to do and work on things. And that's really helped. But at the same time, like, I like being in the same room with the other musicians that I work with, and I want the opportunity to be able to write with them again. And I think we're going to aim to do that here soon. Is that a benefit of having the hubby there, and like you guys can create together, or are you more of a solo process?
I'm kind of more of a solo process. And I think with him, I mean, if he was getting to play with a big rock band, then he definitely feeds off of all the other people. But since, like I said, since I'm not, I mean, I have dreams of rocking out, but it's just not there yet. Then it's more, it kind of, you know, I put my stuff there, and then he gets to kind of zone out with it himself too, and then put it down how he wants to. And since a lot of the, well, No, he did everything live anyway. So I was gonna say with some of it, the production being more like electronic than, but it wasn't. Everything was live instrumentation anyway. So he would just be up late at night and recording things, putting pads in the windows so the neighbors wouldn't hear. And yeah.
That's the other downside of being in an apartment. I've always wanted to put a drum set somewhere, and that's not an option here. It's actually pretty well insulated. It's one of the oldest buildings in Denver, so it's not super hard to like. It's really hard to hear your neighbors unless you're in the hallway, kind of thing. But I don't think a drum kit would survive on the 9th floor.
Yeah, people. Although it's funny, we know a couple other musicians too, where they live in an apartment building and they just decide to rock out when they rock out, and I guess they don't care if it bugs people. So
I'm too polite of a musician.
I know. I hear you. Yep.
So what are you doing outside of working and doing the music thing? Like, what's got your interests right now that are, are you watching something? Are you listening to anything? What's got your interests outside of the realm of the music and work world?
Sure. So like I said, the hubby's into the dirt bike, so I go do that with him every once in a while, which has been fun. I'm a super big horse lover, and so but I'd kind of had a scary experience that kept me away from it for a long time. But now that we're we're in the country area and there's a lot more opportunities, I'm kind of making that dream come back around. So getting some lessons and getting out there riding, and whether I need to scoot poop or something and to get a little discount or lessons for free, I have no shame in that. Cooking is fun. I'll listen to podcasts while I'm working too, and the true crime stuff is kind of an addiction. I was listening to that cocaine and what are glittery things?
Like glow sticks or garland?
It's something that's glittery. It's a music podcast too, where it's like about folk music and or old folk singers too, and just kind of like high drama stories, like Spade Cooley,
I'm gonna look this up while we're here.
His wife and stuff, and you just get to
cocaine and rhinestones.
Yes.
They are glittery, you're right.
Yeah, so that's been stimulating too. So and then of course getting to see the new stuff that my friends are doing, like you putting this podcast together, the music you're releasing, and having so many musician friends too. Like, there's always something that somebody's doing and you get to see and then get inspired and motivate yourself.
Yes, and that's something that has made this podcast a lot easier, is I get to talk to my friends who are doing these great things. At the time of this recording, the one that's coming out on Friday is a really good friend of mine who now lives in Nashville, who recorded the entire album. It's a pop punk acoustic record. And they're called the Campfire Vendetta.
Nice.
And it is one of the most personal albums he's ever released. It's the third of a trilogy. And the final song is called The Campfire Vendetta, about the history of the band and every member that's ever been in it.
Oh boy.
Since I think 2012. So
that's some heavy potential drama right there.
Yeah. And it's like 7.5 minutes long, but it's absolutely amazing. And some of the word play he put into it is just great. And I think it's wonderful.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a link when it's out. It comes out this Sunday as of the recording of this. So it's out on the 20th. I'm a big true crime fan. I had to stop listening to some true crime podcasts. I used to be a huge fan of My Favorite Murder, but I feel like it kind of like shifted to way more of a comedy podcast and kind of lost the luster. But I listened to one that a lot of people find controversial. It's called Sword and Scale. It's with a guy named Mike Bodette, who did a really, really, really gruesome and intense serial killer podcast called Monstro, where they did full vocal reenactments of some of the most heinous crimes ever. Wow. and like people would send him death threats. It was one of the highest downloaded, lowest rated podcasts in the history of Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, interesting how that works out, right?
Yeah, like everyone's like, I'm so disgusted. When's the next episode being released? They did 2 seasons and ended up having to stop because like even the guys who were writing the scripts were like, dude, this is insanity. Like this hurts to write.
Wow.
But Sword and Scale is amazing because it's like actual audio from like the cases that happened, investigations, and then recently he's been getting interviews with certain people from the cases that happen.
I'm writing it down because I'm gonna want to check it out.
and it's amazing, and he covers some really controversial topics. In essence, the conversations, like times where people have been incriminated for crimes that they didn't commit because they talked to the police. And the one this last week, the guy admitted to killing the person, but the person he killed was his rapist as a child.
Oh, geez, yep.
And the detective who knew what was happening helped him essentially get a reduced sentence. The guy was out in 5 years and he's now a motivational speaker and is talking about speaking out, and he should have spoken out instead of letting it eat him alive for 20 years until leading him to murdering this guy. But, you know, that's one of those things that I've always found really interesting in how our generation kind of has found a way to find true crime a little bit more of like a fascinating concept. I'm wondering if it's because we grew up with like Rescue 911 and Unsolved Mysteries, and the storylines of a lot of the films from our generation and in novels. Thomas Harris, James Patterson, Tom Clancy, like A Time to Kill, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal. Like those types of stories were written around the time that we probably shouldn't have been, but we're reading them. I'm wondering if maybe you can tie this into this as well. Do you think that that's maybe where the interest comes from? Like how our generation has kind of taken on that love of true crime, or what do you think it is?
I mean, I'm sure that's part of it, growing up with it, and there's kind of this nostalgic thing. I remember the voice of like, Unsolved Mysteries and things like that, the guy's voice and the narrator and America's Most Wanted, but also I think anytime you're dealing with death and dying, like because it is one of those things that we're all going to experience and we just really have no idea how, and then to get to hear that, like, you can have your bubble, but then you hear things and you just realize that, like, wow, there's like real pure evil out there in the world, or there's all these things. It's gruesome and ugly but fascinating at the same time too, because I think it also just it's all limits and stretches of the human mind and emotions, and then what people can be capable of. Sometimes it's hard to not kind of be fascinated with that.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's something that feels, I think for me, expanding your belief that something like that can happen. The tagline for Sword and Scale is welcome to Sword and Scale, where you find out that the worst monsters are real. And it's just this idea of, the capacity of man is kind of a terrifying thing. And it's an interesting idea to kind of have to navigate, as well as death, that it is the inevitable end to our story. And one of the most fascinating lines I think about death that I've ever read is, unless you do something great, and even if you do, 100 years from now, no one will remember your name. And it's interesting because I think now, with the way that we have this social media culture, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that there's a legacy in digital information now. Like we are essentially saved data in a system at this point.
That sounds so beautiful.
I know it sounds really weird coming out of my mouth, but it ties into another subject that I talk to with a lot of creative types, and we can of course skip this if it's not something you really want to talk about, but I've been talking a lot about cancel culture. I know that it's kind of died down. It was more of an issue like early in COVID with anybody who did anything.
Cancel culture?
Yeah, it's essentially where people are, unless someone does one thing wrong and it's out of the norm of everything. But for instance, like I'm trying to think of an example, like Kevin Hart a couple years ago, he was removed from hosting I think it was the Academy Awards or the Emmys, because he had once made a joke 10 years prior that he wouldn't be happy if his son was gay, but the joke was taken out of context because no one had heard the entire thing. But it was one post on a tweet that was released 10 years before. And so people were like, he doesn't like gay people. He's immediately eliminated from any opportunity. And he essentially had to start from scratch to build his reputation back up. But it's this idea that a person cannot be different from who they were 10 years ago, or a person cannot be, if a person makes one, now I will say this, if a person makes one mistake, corrects that mistake and moves forward, that's different than if somebody is a repeated history of doing horrible things. Now that's beside any human being should not be allowed to be, I guess, successful if they are, like a Harvey Weinstein is an example of somebody who is a terrible human being. But like, it's the idea that essentially people don't think people can grow anymore. And with the age of social media, people literally take time to go through people's timelines and screenshot things that people say and then bring it up when something bad happens or they want to destroy a person. Could you imagine if we had social media 10 years before we actually got it, and the things that we thought then would be out in the open world? Like, how far do you think you've changed even in 10 years compared to like who you were at 20 versus 30 versus where you are now?
I mean, I think there's a core element that doesn't change, and that it's more about trying to actually figure out what that core that makes up who you are and what your passions are and what your, the type of person you want to be and how you want to treat people in the world. But then I think there's a lot of actions that certainly have changed, because you learn and you decide either, hey, what I did hurt that person and I don't want to do that again, or you decide that, nope, that's, part of my core beliefs and I'm going to treat people like that no matter what. But I mean, I think too, I could see that being sort of part of a generation where the way that you do get to know people is all through kind of almost on social media, like for us growing up, there wasn't that. To get to know someone, you had to wait until you saw them. And so it was much slower over time, and you'd either have long phone conversations, and have to you didn't know everything that was going on with the person, even when, you weren't there. It was a much slower, long, naturally unfolding process to like get to know people. And then when you messed up too, then you had to find out ways to make amends, like in real life, not just like popping on a social media thing and trying to make some popular post or something for people. So, and also like sense of humor, I think and political correctness, that changes every year and every decade, and each decade from before has to learn how to be nicer to the generation that's saying, something hurts their feelings or something. But sometimes too, it's just like, that was kind of part of being laid back or having a sense of humor or making light of things. And for some people, that's a way to kind of tackle talking about sensitive subjects and make it less sensitive, But I don't know if I'm even answering your question, but those
No,
are the
you
things
are.
that I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, and that's a perfect example. Is like you touched on important things. Like there's a shift in what political correctness is. There's a shift in what we speak about and how it's spoken about. There are TV shows that were made when we were in grade school and high school that would never be made today.
Definitely.
Like I don't know. I watched the first few episodes of the first season of Friends, and there are things in that show that would never have been on television now because the content would be considered outside of the political correctness realm.
Oh
Or it
yeah,
would,
at the time too. That's even still one of the most like safe shows. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
pretty. Nice.
But that's exactly it. Is like context means everything, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. For me, on that end, like the first thing they taught me at media school was anything you think that could be offensive or potentially hurt your career, delete it from the internet immediately. You're not popular enough for anyone to take any screenshots of anything that you've done, so don't worry about it. Like just get it off there now in case you ever do make it big, and then someone won't go back and try and like find your pictures on Facebook of that one time you were drunk at a show, or you know. But like professional athletes, because that's one of the realms I'm very big in. Some of these guys have had Twitter since they were 13, and the things I said at 13 compared to 33 are night and day. Like the only things I post on Facebook now are like, congratulations, happy birthday, mom. Here's another podcast. Here's another show. Come check out my band. Like I don't post about politics. I don't post about anything because I'm concerned about how it would be taken by the general public. I'm not popular enough to have a platform where, my opinions won't get me deplatformed from anything, like if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I'm not vocal about those things on the internet. I'm vocal about them in person with the people that I can talk to. And I have worked very hard to not develop an echo chamber, which tends to be a thing that we as a society tend to do nowadays. Even when it comes to music, like I've worked really hard in the last few years to broaden my flavors of music. I used to hate electronic music. Oh, it's the worst. They're not real musicians. And now I'm like, this is pretty good. Like,
right.
All right, I'll take that. What have you done to kind of help broaden any horizons that you have in terms of anything? Like, have you reached out and read different materials? Have you started listening to different types of music?
When I was first, I was in a band called Social Club too. I don't know if you remember from that a little bit, but I thought all of those guys in the band were great musicians, and everyone had very different tastes in music, and so I kind of saw it as like I hate jamming. Like jamming makes me very uncomfortable. So like the first going to practice, it would be so awkward being with all these musicians that just, they seem so comfortable. They could start jamming and having fun, and I'd be like, oh my God, A, like, C, what are they playing? Like so uncomfortable. But it was like, I knew that unless I was uncomfortable almost all of the time, like there's no way I was going to get better. So it was like, if I was trying to get better fast too, it was like, the more often that you're uncomfortable, it means that you're expanding you're stretching your boundaries and your limits. I mean, and it'd be different too if like, they were cutting my fingernails too short and it was painful. Like, but no, it was like, no, this is a good discomfort. It's, maybe I don't typically like that, but how come I don't like that? And, the heavy metal, when it's like a certain, how come I don't like that? And then the more you learn about it and then learn the skill that's behind it too, and then you're getting better at your own craft. And same thing like what you're saying, where it's like, oh wow, there's skill and there's artistry and hard work behind that. And one of our friends is in the band. He's the drummer for Cattle Decapitation. So we went to one of their shows, and that was the first time that I saw someone like spit a loogie up into the air and then catch it back in their mouth And I was like, what? Oh my God. Like, but even that, like, I guess I can see, you know, it's all getting out there and doing your thing and expressing yourself or causing a reaction in people or something.
So that's a band name I never thought would come out of your mouth. I have a lot of friends who really like cattle decapitation, so I'm not one of them, but that's a genre of music. Like, I love metal, but like sometimes it's just a little too heavy for me, and I'll admit it. And I think that there's no knock on anybody who plays that style of music. That is on a whole other level of musicianship, and especially a drummer in that genre. That dude's got to have insanely fast hands, insanely strong legs. Like, yeah, you gotta be doing work.
Yeah, totally. Jeffrey's laughing because that's his friend, and he always makes fun of him for not being fast enough. So
you don't need to be fast to be good. That is the rule. I've always believed that. I get made fun of because I don't play 30 seconds on the bass ever. I've never been able to do it with a pick or with my fingers. It just doesn't work for me.
30 seconds on the bass? What do you mean?
Like 30-second notes. Brrr,
oh.
30-second, 40,
wow.
64ths.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
I have friends who have like this weird technique where their fingers do this and they can play like 30 seconds of 64ths with their fingers. And I'm like, good for you. It's not me. Like, I have a hard enough time playing in time with a gallop or like triplets. I'm still learning how to like build my craft after 20 years of playing.
Yeah, I hear you. Me too.
Oh man, it's just nuts because like I feel
There's
like
so much to learn, and you can always be getting better. And it's frustrating.
yes, and that's the thing. I think investing time in something you care about and love of doing is more important than being the best at it. I think if you can be as good as you feel to create something and then start there and then build and learn to do more and really enjoy it. That's the most important part for me. It's like, I don't have to be the best. I can be good and still, as long as I'm loving it and I love what I'm creating, that's the most important part.
Yeah. I think for me too, what I discovered was the most important aspect, and why I'm so drawn to it too, is as long as I'm being 100% genuine and honest and putting just my honesty out there, then that's the main thing. And sometimes figuring out, yeah, when it feels right, then it's always all honest. So whether it's a simple or yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, simplistic sometimes works better. Some of the greatest songs ever written were 3 chords and on repeat.
All the money makers, yeah.
Yep. Have you ever heard of The Access of Awesome, the 4 chord song? They have a song that literally it's just I think it's A, C, D, G, and they play it in like the same pattern over and over again, and then just sing a bunch of like the most popular songs from the time frame. And every song is in those chords, and they're like, yeah, they're just the same, but in a different order. Well, we are closing in on the hour mark, so this is where I give you the floor. Promote anything you want to coming in the future. I'm not exactly sure when this episode will be released. If we want to, we can put it right in when you're getting ready to release the video and the song, so we can make that work. But in that case, right now, Thea, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I'd love for people to trying to get people over to Spotify to pre-save The Worm when it's going to come out. The song and the video will be on 2/12/21. So trying to get folks over to Spotify to pre-save, getting over to the YouTube channel, Thea the Band, and subscribing so that when the video comes out, they can see it. We're following Thea the Band on Instagram or Facebook, or just checking in on the website at theatheband.com too. we'll have some new we got some really cool artwork that's coming with the single. Like, it's the first time that I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna put this on so much stuff just because like I would buy it and wear it, you know, put it on a handkerchief, put it on some cute sweatpants, put it on it's some awesome artwork. And so yeah, follow Thea the Band on any of the social media platforms that you like using, and then you can see the new songs when they come out. The Worm, super excited about. Got a funky kind of soulful indie folky vibe, rocky vibe. All of those.
I love it. Well, yes, definitely. Everybody, when you can, head out and check everything out. All of that will be in the description below. Awesome. Or in the description of the podcast. If you are listening to this one, Thea, it has been a pleasure to see you. You are lovely as always. I'm always happy. I'm sad that I haven't been able to actually come out and see you. The last time I was in San Diego, I was there. I think it's been 6 years. You guys had a show somewhere, I think somewhere else, and we were in the Gaslamp district, like because we went to a Padres game.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Oh man. Yeah, I think that's coming up on 5 years now, that trip, which blows my mind. And I will say that it has been 10 years since the last time we saw each other, because Nick had already passed away. So yeah, for those of the audience who don't know, my brother did pass away. It'll be 11 years next month, which is crazy to think about. Yeah.
I had a big crush on him in grade school.
It was that smile. It was that damn smile of his.
Yeah, and he was a troublemaker too. He knew what he could get away with.
Yeah. He more often than not would, you know how you talked about the loogie thing going up and catching it? He did the dangle. Like he would pin me down. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, being the little brother had its disadvantages sometimes.
Oh man, I bet.
I cannot wait to see the final product of The Worm. I can't wait to listen to it all the time. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Michael, thanks so much for having me. So glad I got to chat with you and see you.
Yes, definitely. Tell the hubby I said hello. And
signing off. And I have to meet this girlfriend of yours too. You guys can come out to San Diego and get on a horse and a bike or something.
Oh, definitely. We've both ridden horses together already. So
nice.
Yes. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Bye.
It almost feels like someone else is living my life. 'Cause it almost feels like someone else is